Silent Hill. Combat. When I think of these two together, I think of people seeing them as an oddball relationship. On one hand, you got the Silent Hill game itself, a psychological survival horror that taps into the player's fears. On the other hand, you got combat, which is there to help keep the player alive in order for them to survive, but it's always been frowned a lot by the fans, because it's not supposed to turn the main character into Doom Guy. What's going on, Absolute Units? CinderUnit here. So Silent Hill F's combat gameplay got released, and judging by this clip, it is not well received.
What is this? Some sort of masochistic joke?
And the more I think about it, the more it got me thinking about Silent Hill's gameplay mechanic, mainly the combat. When you play a horror game like this, it's pretty obvious that you have to defend yourself when they try to kill you, with limited ammo resources and close range combat. But oh no, you can't fight well! And why is that? Tank controls, which in my opinion is one of the most important aspects when it comes to PS1 horror games like these. And it makes sense because most of the main characters are ordinary people until some plot twist is revealed where you're not as normal as you think. So to explore some extra context of the combat, we need to take a look at the characters and see how they fight. Starting off with Silent Hill 1, where you play as Harry Mason, a single dad trying to find his missing daughter after a car crash to her destination. Upon arrival, Harry gets surrounded by a bunch of zombie kids, and since he can't fight or beat them up because of tank controls and a punch button doesn't exist, he wakes up in a diner after getting rescued by a cop. And this is where we get our first weapons, a knife and a gun. Now according to Silent Hill lore, Harry is a non-fiction writer, and if we take that into consideration, this technically means that the novelization might be canon since it's revealed that Harry wrote a book about being pro-gun, which makes him a true Second Amendment right practicing American. So he does seem to be proficient in guns, thanks to the power of auto-aim systems. Did you know Gordon Freeman built a tennis ball gun as a kid? But melee combat on the other hand, yeah, this is where the game gets challenging. I did once try to use a kitchen knife to save ammo, but we got a bunch of flying pterodactyls and jumping dogs and humpers that keep saying That's where I realized, yeah, I'll just walk past them. Problem here is that the hitboxes are just hard to hit, but mostly because it's just not a strong weapon. That is, until you get the best weapon in the game.
Stop! Hammer time!
Or to use my clanker ass, this weapon is tough as hell! Well, when it comes to fighting humanoids. Now something you should take note, when it comes to one-handed weapons like a knife or an axe, notice how Harry can do this multi-slash attack, and with a knife he would go for a stabby, while the axe makes him go slashy. The two-handed ones, you can just smack him in the head or swing it, like he doesn't even use them like a sword weapon or anything. Unless you beat the game in Good and Plus, where you do get a sword that turns Harry into a master of Aijitsu. Now if a weapon like this never appeared in the first game, and instead maybe in some future tile where you can become Virgil, there'd probably be backlash of people saying, "No, samurai swords don't fit Silent Hill." Thankfully, this is a New Game Plus item, so it's fine. Other than that, there's this chainsaw, which sadly you can't run around fighting enemies. But it is a fun weapon since you get to move while the blade frames hit the enemy, and the power drill, which is another stab weapon, only bigger, and you can move up and down. But if you ask me, I think this is the glorified punch button. What does this tell us about Harry Mason? Well, it just means he prefers using guns in self-defense, but never a melee weapon. Unless if he uses a katana. So overall, him being good with guns and not hand-to-hand just tells us, when it comes to combat, the best choice is to shoot them as a last resort option, unless you waste all your resources. Alternatively, just run and complete the puzzle. Or if you beat the game, just double the ammo counter and go Doom Guy mode. But what about Silent Hill 2? Well, just like the last game's protagonist, James is not a soldier or a badass, he's just another normal man. Just a normal guy with no combat knowledge. Oh, SH2 remake. But once he enters the town that's full of dudes wearing gimp suits trying to beat him and spit bile, the first thing he took was a wooden plank with nails. Now the way James fights with melee is very similar to Harry, only this time with a smaller roster. You got the aforementioned wooden plank, which is the light type melee weapon where you can run and flail around like a psychopath, but this move is useless since the hitbox won't bar hitting them, so just whack them. The pipe, which is a medium damage melee weapon where you don't flail around like Harry and only whacks them. Nah, just kidding, you can't actually flail this weapon around if you're playing it on hard mode. You can also use the pipe to stab enemies, or at least that's what I would say if I had pressure sensitive PS2 controller. And then the heaviest melee weapon, which is Pyramid Head's knife. This turns James into a slow moving Final Fantasy character, but is overall the best weapon to kill abstract deities. So why, Bloober Team? Why? You and your moron audience because they don't understand how tactics and strats work? Stupid glorified Corporal Mandate remake. Oh, and the New Game Plus Chainsaw, which in my opinion has been nerfed to oblivion since it removes the frame collision damage of the last game. Speaking of which, while melee does seem to be a bit buffed a lot and easier, animation wise feels rough. Because if you hit the attack button, you'll always get this 1 second pause, strike, 1 second pause, strike, 1 second pause, strike. I mean, this mostly happens when you move, so good luck facing one of them flying figures when they spit you first. The best combat strategy I can give is when they attack first, back off, and then when it's your turn, that's where you strike, like a turn-based game. Now unlike Harry who gets a laser gun, James gets a bug spray.
Boring.
And honestly, I kinda wish this was in the normal game because I think anyone would use a bug spray for self-defense. Maybe a pepper spray too. Which you pepper spray is a girl's weapon. No man, Chinese cleaver is, which is just a plain Kree skin. As for guns, well, you know in the first game Harry never reloads and his ammo comes out of thin air? They added a reload animation this time once your gun is dried. The shotgun is pump action now, which makes gunplay a lot more slower. Like you can't even move while firing the heavier guns. Overall, as the game with a small melee and gun roster, them using these weapons kinda makes sense. I mean, they don't have a bag or anything, right? Like, where's Harry carrying this stuff? James and Maria aren't fist fires or Japanese sword fighters. And even if they do, James won't use Angela's knife or if he starts pulling a DMC weapon switch system, like changing different weapons. But he would be willing to be a Guts cosplayer with a bigger knife. But even then, it's all just self-defense options. So while it's not exactly combat heavy or deep, the best option is just run away. By the way, did you know that this game has a block button? Yeah, that's right, turns out Silent Hill was a Souls-like before Souls-likes existed. Now when we move to Silent Hill 3, Cheryl's combat is almost the same as James, except this time the devs realized that the PS2 pressure sensitive mechanic was a mistake. Basically this means you can finally do James' hard mode pipe swing, and his stab move if you have the katana equipped. As Harry's daughter, you might think she could get some self-defense classes since he's a worrywart dad, but the only unarmed move she has is a hand block, and that's it. Unfortunately, she can't use her dad's New Game Plus slash since that would be too OP. But she can swing left and right of them all, and can even do Pyramid Head slash attack. At least she can move and run normally this time. She also has her pocket knife, which works exactly like in the first Silent Hill game, and the only move she doesn't have from the previous game is James' Psycho Flail. Now instead of using her rifle, she gets an Uzi 9mm, because why the hell not? Which basically gives you the power to look around and shoot. And because the Metal Gear Solid was made by Konami, this game for whatever reason has a secret silencer. Yeah, it looks like there's stealth options now. Good luck getting past the pig guys. Now unlike the last two games, if you kill too much enemies, you might end up getting the bad ending. And I still haven't gotten it after going guns blazing with my infinite ammo gun. Now if I'm going to make a confession, as someone who knew about this ending because of reading it up on the wiki page as a kid before finally experiencing Silent Hill 3, I did an entire pacifist run just because I didn't want to get. Okay, I actually killed 20 enemies, but my point still stands. Until I realized I wasted my time since it's a New Game Plus only ending. Still got this cutscene though.
Monsters? They look like monsters to you?
Luckily, it's a good thing this game has a stun gun to make it easier, except I'm playing this on hard mode, which aren't as effective as one might think. What's to say about Silent Hill 3's combat? Well, it might have the most weapons while also having the most strangest weapon roster for Cheryl. Like a mall? Seriously? But the fact that the game punishes you into getting the bad ending by killing too much in New Game Plus is executed a bit... okay I guess. I mean, unlike Silent Hill 2 where you can just easily run past them, the enemies in the third game are annoying as hell. And by hell, I mean the first Silent Hill game where you got dogs jumping around, flying bug things, annoying pigs crawling, and the nurses having guns this time is really just the game's enemy saying, hit me, hit me, hit me! But the ending is just only obtainable in New Game Plus, so what gives? And as a bonus for being on hard mode, you unlock a health bar and a Souls-like stamina meter. So maybe we should stop comparing games of health bars and stamina as a Souls game. But I'm not even kidding. The final boss in this game on hard mode is literally just a prototype Souls-like when I realized that strafing is just a Souls roll while using guns actually make you lose stamina. Which made me lose too much to the point I had to save state. Good luck finding this exploit, cause this shit's in the PC version. And now we've reached Silent Hill 4, The Room.
Oh, hi Mark.
Whereas previous protagonists carried 3 guns, Henry What the Hell Townshend only has 2 guns. A pistol and a revolver, which is just a glorified shotgun replacement. Since the Silent Hill game has more dynamic 3D cameras and no more tank controls, this is where the game's combat became easier and more bearable, all thanks to the power of invincible frame charge attacks. He might be the quiet kid of all the protagonists, but this dude is actually fighting for his life in his PJs. He's got the 2-handed weapons for the swingy swings that also have a whack attack when you press 3 times. 1-handed weapons for speed attacks but no charge ups except for the knife, a stun gun with a slow charge up, and a paralyzing spray. The axe, which is the only long 1-handed weapon with an arc slash charge attack, a shovel with a thrust as a charge attack, and the heaviest weapon in the game that allows him to do a 6 spin move. Grr, this section of the game destroys the point of Silent Hill! Konami, you fools! I mean, at least he does seem to know how to make good use of these weapons. And he carries lots, and I mean lots and lots of golf clubs until it breaks beyond repair. What I don't really get is that, do I really need to keep them in my chest and not throw them away? Now, if one critic complained that Silent Hill 4 has a stronger emphasis on combat, does it ruin the gameplay? Well, if you take notice of the enemies in this game, you realize that some of them look like they are ready to attack you instead of just straight up assault you once they got eye contact. They would sometimes try to back off to not get hit by a weapon, but Henry can do it too since you got the power of dodge sliding as a way to bunny hop certain sections of the game. Guess which mechanic is making a return, guys? This is also the first installment of a real-time weapon switch system, so let's see if I have the power to combo mad in this game. Yeah, I think I'll go back playing Devil May Cry. Problem here is that when you try switching on the fly, you can't do it because you're in an attack progress. Not like there's an animation cancel mechanic. However, combat isn't always effective when you encounter ghosts that can't take damage from a weapon unless you put them down and pierce them with a sword, in which only 5 of them exists. Sure, I could use a silver bullet for my gun, but the problem here is that Silent Hill 4 is the least gun focused until Silent Hill F. And there's only like 3 silver bullets because the 3rd one can all be found by backtracking to start the escort mission. What the fuck? Now Henry might be as tough as a nail, but your escort Eileen is as tough as a Cheeto. It's good that she fights alongside of you even if she's crippled, but this means she does the same attack move. Unless you give her a gun. New Game Plus only weapon. I mean, she's invincible, but the more she takes damage, the higher the chances you'll get the bad ending. At least they took notes from the last game on how the way you play affects the ending. An overall good reason to fight back. And speaking of different endings, let's not forget the self-room self-defense mechanic, which is exorcism. You can't fight ghosts in your apartments, you can't kill ghosts in your apartments. You have to use this holy candle, but this candle can also be used to heal Eileen. And as said before, if she takes too much damage, you get more chances to get the bad ending. Now this isn't a review of Silent Hill 4, or its games, this is a video essay about combat in its survival horror world, just to see if it's worth the hate or something. I know this game is getting a lot of fans nowadays after years of release, but is the combat justified? I mean, it doesn't get it done early, but seeing that Henry is willing to use brute force to kill enemies, I'd say he has a pretty good reason to have a charge mechanic, and a pretty good reason why he's got a lot of weapons. Even with the controversial invincible frames, the ghost guys flying and being invincible and lack of guns, they do let you know, just run past him and reach the goal. Good luck on the second half escort mission. Now off to the next 4 games, in which I call the post-Team Silent era or the Hewlett era or the Western Studio era. They're gonna be a lot harder to analyze, because 1, I never played those games, and 2, Homecoming's PC version is garbage, and 3, Downpour is a 360 and PS3 game, in which I never had those consoles, and 4, should I even bother playing those god-awful games? Or should I just go watch and analyze them on YouTube without touching them? Well, looks like there's only one thing to do, and that's piracy! Oh shit! Shintaro Furukawa! It doesn't matter! Let's move!
These effects suck!
Okay, back to the video. Now I only played Origins once in my friend's home. I only got past the intro and that's it. Since this is made by a bunch of Western English devs from Climax, this is where we start seeing a game design change, since Travis has one thing that made previous Made in Japan protagonists don't have.
It's a fighting hand!
Considering that Travis is your typical American countryside truck driver, you're probably expecting him to take a rest in a nearby bar or pub like that, driving long roads. And when there's a bar, there's a drug fist fight. Not trying to stereotype you guys, but... oh shit. Similar to, let's say, the Warriors, Travis is able to pick up weapons and use them in melee combat, because the weapons here break a lot. It's almost as if this is where the Zilla team took inspiration for Breath and Tears. Hell, even the weapon and item management is as annoying as the latest Zelda games. Where is Travis keeping all these stuff? A table lamp, a television, and a filing cabinet? This guy's nuts! This truck driver is out here beating up monsters. And yet, Link from Breath of the Kingdom can't even fistfight when his weapon breaks. Only problem is that he moves too slow and can only punch twice. Melee animations from small weapons to one-handed and two-handed are the same, while also adopting Silent Hill 4's charge attack, but I rarely use this move and just spam the normal attack button. There's also a lance type weapon which is as heavy as Pyramid Head's knife, and it can still move normally, except there's only one attack move. And because Resident Evil 4 had QTE, might as well give this game QTE too. And just like every second minute of practicing Americans is a proud user of guns like this communist rifle.
Look at you. You who were once so proud. Go now and never return.
Overall, I guess the way Travis fights against the horrors are justified. Some might not like it because the only one that can relate to truck driver protagonists in a horror world is if you're a tough truck driver like in real life. But it is what it is, I guess. Sorry if you're expecting the protagonist to be a normal white-collar worker. Still got no idea what the devs were thinking with Travis carrying too much stuff. We'd buy an entire aisle for this. And oh boy, here we go. Silent Hill Homecoming. This is where it all went wrong, where people start comparing Silent Hill F's combat to. When you start playing as the main protagonist who's, well, a trained military soldier, you don't even have to worry at all, because nothing says Silent Hill but going full-on CQC Solid Snake everywhere, and a Muso-style combo moveset. Like dodge rolls too. Now I can see why this game is terrible. I'm playing it on the gamepad, and I can't even figure out how to input the walk button onto the control stick! Even combat seems terrible because there just isn't that oomph compared to the last games. Basically sound effects that goes... but then I learned that's a PC problem unless I played with mono audio. But the sound effects still suck! And the camera is just not helping me. Like, I don't feel like a soldier trying to survive. And the button feedback just sucks! Also, if you stand and press the target button, you don't actually have to hold it. You basically just press the button and it toggles into a combat stance like a switch. If you move around, you have to hold the button, so what gives? Instead of dodge rolling, you end up getting this downgraded slide movement? Let's hope your weapon actually hits the enemy and not some kind of obstacle prop.
There's nothing there.
No reason why protagonists like this exist because of Call of Duty and probably Resident Evil. At this point, just play Resident Evil then, or Call of Duty Zombies! Don't get me wrong, I personally think a soldier protagonist would work, and those types of protagonists are quite as common as Final Girls. In fact, the most recent horror game I played is literally a soldier as a protagonist, and that game was way scarier. But here you have a bunch of finisher moves as if you're actually the real monster all along. Or what am I saying? The entire point of Silent Hill since the sickness that the town is calling people to come to face their sins. So what the hell am I saying when every protagonist think they're normal actually insane? But who the hell wants to survive as a well-prepped and well-trained soldier and not a normal mundane everyday person that gets thrown into hell? Grrr! Konami, you bastards! Military soldiers don't fit in Silent Hill! Also, did I forget to mention that the PC version is so garbage that I'm stuck on this elevator? Here, this is an anti-piracy trigger where the game is telling me to stop playing this garbage. Thank Deus Machina. Now, as an FU to anyone who hated Homecoming, how about we put into the shoes of a criminal? Yeah, sorry, if you ask me when I learned that the main character in the game is a criminal, I was already ready to leave because I don't like playing as the bad guy or the villain. And this comes from someone who played a few crime sims like GTA. But Sinead, as a child we used to look up to heroes, but now as a grown man, I understand villains. Nope, sorry, off to jail, no one wants to be like him, bye bye. But as I said, I don't look up to silent playthroughs in this game, no pun intended. And honestly, it looked kinda boring. I don't even remember if this game had any interesting enemy encounters at all. Combat wise, it's pretty much copying Origin's mechanics of throwable weapons. Some of them work and move differently, but he has no block button with his fists. Come on, Murph, a teenage girl did first. And since you're playing as a criminal and all, you pretty much are playing as a guy who did bad things, and that means beating up people and maybe prison fights is nothing new. But wants to play as a courageously bad man in a scary land. I will give credit, I do like how you can only pick up one weapon instead of a roster of them. So good on trying to make the player try to survive. Nothing says scary combat music but with radio chatter. Where the hell's the damn industrial music of the last games? Now I'm gonna be honest, due to Downpour's lack of PC port, this is the first time I had to play the game on a PS3 emulator. What's this? We don't condone piracy? Probably just a placeholder. And I had to speedrun my way to the combat parts because 1, there's no save file download, and 2, the cutscenes aren't skippable, and 3, I had to get good hands-on experience, and it sucks. It's terrible, big time. I can't believe I ran my frosty robot ass just to get to lame-ass combat? It is just a complete slog! I mean, it works better than Homecoming, and there's no more annoying enemy pattern recognition, but do I seriously need to keep tapping the block button when they break it and stomp it a few times before they could just get a message just to stay down? The worst part are these tight spaces that require to fight them, and not as an optional thing, like MOVE, bitch! Get out the way! But what am I saying? Good combat, bad combat? What does it matter? We're just trying to survive. But hey, at least it's not Book of Memories where the game turns into a Diablo clone dungeon crawler. Yeah, because nothing says psychological horror but the psychological living haunted town punishing the players by defeating a number of enemies and buying a bunch of bang weapons from a mailman. As you can see, Silent Hill services ain't free, you know. So you better pay the medical bills or I'll send Pyramid Head to kill you and throw you off to get the water ending. Well, now the mainline games and one spin-off game covered. Apologies if I couldn't cover the others. What have we learned from all this? Well, it doesn't seem like there's a scale of being not good or just plain jank. I mean, it does evolve over time to feel better, but it did regress to get worse. Either way, it's always treated like an afterthought until it gets updated with new systems that get people talking. So I think instead of trying to make the combat deep, I think what matters most is just make it work without any bugs. Not like fighting back is always a must. And with the next mainline game F coming up soon, I was kinda curious to know how the next game's protagonist is gonna fight. She seems to look like a show-era schoolgirl. I don't expect her to be tough, and oh boy was I wrong. Konami, why are you giving a seemingly vulnerable girl a goddamn speed dash? And what's with the weird shockwave effect every time she uses a heavy attack? What sorts of sorcery is she using to slide backward or forward? What are you guys smoking? Well, to answer that question, the team admitted that the weird off-place action melee combat was intentional due to challenging action games being the most hip now WoW and have for the current generation. So what better way but to turn Silent Hill F into another Souls-like instead of breaking trends to create a horror game where fighting back should have been the last resort option. Or at least that's what public perception thinks until the devs finally responded, even pointing out how they took elements from the 3rd and 4th meters in the charge-ups. Hey, just like what I did just now. And they even state how people should stop claiming that not every game with stamina meter equals the Souls-like. Perhaps this is just a modern perception of what every action game is now, with modern game design trends.
What? There were memes before meme review? What the freak?
The real question is, will it feel like a Souls-like game when we play it, and the devs just don't realize it? Are we still able to avoid enemies in combat? Or is there gonna be an enemy carrying a certain key item to progress the story? Let's just hope there's a level up system where you unlock a power-up combo move, or a message pop up saying, "You'll need to reach a certain level to beat this boss." But then I remember this game has no guns, and we can all agree that guns are anti-boss weapons. Well, at least that explains everything. But even then, most Silent Hill fans aren't really keen on strong action, and are more focused on wanting to have the experience of being in an effed up mind-bending world. If there was an alternate universe if Homecoming's combat was good, would people still like the game? But the more I think about it, the more I see the number of melee moves in Silent Hill are almost the same in certain Souls games. There's not that many. Perhaps Silent Hill was the OG Dark Souls all along, or maybe the real Dark Souls was never the hardcore difficulty, but rather the slight dashes we made along the way. Or maybe instead of complaining, we'll just see how it goes. Still think a schoolgirl doing a speed dash doesn't fit Silent Hill though. Only time will tell once this game comes out. If the Seiyu said this game disturbed her a lot, I do think this is going to have a good story regardless of the controversial gameplay. Or worse, an unoptimized mess on the PC version. Thanks for reminding me, Homecoming. In the end, combat in a game like Silent Hill does seem to be the make it or break it subject when it comes to the franchise. Not exactly the main selling point, but it is there as a survival tactic. It's either fight because you have no choice to survive, or fight because you want to use that lightsaber you unlocked. So what do you guys think about combat in Silent Hill? Do you think it's important just to get a 10-star results rating? Or do you think it's just an existing mechanic for survival purposes? Let me know in the comments below, I like to hear your thoughts. Anyway guys, this is Internet, logging off until next time. In Silent Hill Shattered Dimensions, you push away bald people with big lips.